right, welcome back. Next week, a week from today, next Wednesday, a conference will be held in Cairo under the title Ethics of Elections and Political Activism, and it will be under the auspices of Dr. Ali Al-Silmi, Deputy Prime Minister. We all know elections are up in like less than 2 weeks. The campaigning has started, and there's a lot of discussions here about the election law, whether candidates will be abiding and parties will be abiding by the campaigning law, and also about politics in order to be as fair as possible when results come up or the election day itself comes up. So a conference at this time is going to be an issue that we should discuss right now with our dear guest, Dr. Sadiq Afifi, who is the President of the Arab Council for Moral Education. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Afifi. And as Yasser mentioned, this conference comes at a very important and crucial time in the history of Egypt, the first parliamentary elections after the revolution. So would you tell us more about it?
This conference seeks to answer a number of questions which we will raise and seek answers among politicians, ordinary citizens and thinkers. Those questions are: should politicians be ethical in their actions, in their decisions, in their dealing? Should the candidates of the elections be ethical in their behavior, in what they say and what they do?
But what defines ethical in that case?
Ethics means sticking to the humanistic values of religions or of humanity in general. Let's talk about honesty, transparency, things like that. Those are the ethics we all agree upon. Seeking peace, no violence, and so on. One of the questions is, should everybody in Egypt have the right to give his vote and take part in the elections or not? Since 1923, the first constitution in Egypt, all citizens were considered equal. Nevertheless, we did not give equal opportunity to each citizen. For instance, it took 5 years for women to gain the right to give their vote after 1923. And it took us nearly 100 years for those Egyptians living abroad to have the right to give their vote. This is unethical. This is unethical because we should be equal. We talk about equality. That's one thing. Second thing, some voters do not give honest voting because they are influenced by actions from the candidates of parliament. We have the parliamentary elections, as Mr. Yasser has just said. These parliamentary elections coming soon have many candidates. We have thousands of candidates. Everyone tries to bribe, not everyone, say many of them, bribe voters, bribe citizens to give them their votes. Some of those candidates enter the elections game to gain things for themselves, not to serve the country. This is unethical, and this is unethical. Politicians in general, of course, should be ethical in my view, but some say that politics is nothing related to ethics. For instance, when we talk about the United States, we say the United States has permanent interests, but no friendships, no permanent friendships, no permanent principles. They stick to their interests and they don't stick to the principles or to the friendship rulings.
So concerning the parliament elections this year, how are you going to discuss all these issues in the conference? How will you tackle it? Will you be talking to the candidates, or are you trying to target the people? Who are you trying to target?
Excellent. That's a very good question. Who is taking part in this meeting? First, we have a number of about 7 presidential candidates. Secondly, we have several parliamentary candidates. Thirdly, we have a number of politicians and political activists. Fourthly, we have ordinary citizens like me, you and me. Those people will discuss together whether we should be ethical or not in everything and how to be ethical. Should we deceive people? I'll give you an example. Now we are quite frightened that if the parliament forms the committee which will write down the constitution, the new constitution, that committee might be biased to one side of the views in the nation, in ideology, in thinking, and so on. So we want this committee to be representing the whole country, representing all factions of the country. This is the ethical thing. This is the principle. This is the principle. But so that's why we thought of writing a document of major or basic principles of constitutions to be read or viewed by this committee and cannot go outside those principles.
But that's a bit subjective as well, because not everybody agrees to that. So how can you ask for consensus on this matter when not everyone agrees on having the constitution first?
Some of those discussions should be solved by dialogue. We have a conversation, we have a dialogue, you have your views, I have my views, and then if we have the interests of the nation above us all, we will reach a decision or an agreement on something which we think it is in public interest. But what happened, in fact, that some of those leaders of the political parties agreed to the principle of writing this document, signed the document, and now when the time came, they say, no, we refuse the document. We refuse it in principle. Not only the items in it, we refuse it in principle, and we will go on strike in Tahrir Square on Friday. We'll have another million people demonstration. This is unethical in my view. We should sort out those things by dialogue. We discuss together, we arrive to a conclusion. When you give your vote in the box, in the ballot box, you should be honest in what you do, honest in doing what's in the interest of the company and the country and in the interest of your area or the quarter you live in now. The candidate, when he promises something which he can do, not promises things just everything is rosy, everything is spring, like Saad Hosni said, and then when he is elected, you never see him again. That's unethical also. And if the government tries to fix the elections and cook the results, then this is unethical also. We are talking about how to protect ethics in elections and in political action.
Obviously, you're talking about awareness for the people as well, to try to, like you said, vote for the right person, not vote for your friend or vote for someone who bribes you. Bribery is in different ways. It's not just money, it could also be through ideas.
Yes.
Will you discuss this also?
Yes. Rivalry or competition in elections should be according to programs and ideas. I have a program to improve Egypt, to better the quality of life in Egypt. Then I convince you, you give me your vote, right? Finished. That's the way we should run elections, and in all advanced countries, this is what should happen in the final analysis. But sometimes some candidates don't do this because they are seeking their own interest. We all hear about corruption of previous members of the parliament because they were seeking their own interest. Now, how can we guarantee ethics in elections and in politics? By different ways. We will discuss that. For instance, the civil society organizations can do a lot in this. If the civil society follows up the elections, controls the elections, oversees the elections, they can form some kind of pressure on all authorities to be ethical, not to forge the results, not to do violence.
Not to break the rules in
not to
the
break
election
the rules.
campaigning.
For instance, some of the candidates might have violent people, bodyguards and so on, in front of the ballot box room, and they prevent people from even entering the room to give their vote. And if they try to force their way in, they hit them, they hurt them, and so on. So peaceful people like you, like Yasser, like myself, will go away and will not give our vote. In the end, the result will not be representing the people. It only represented the violent people, the unethical people. This is a very important point we should fight for and defend it, so that the next parliament will be representing the whole of Egypt and not only one faction or us.
Doctor, you said earlier that ethics are actually involved on different levels. It's the governmental level and the voters and the candidates themselves. But what organizations should monitor this process?
The organizations should monitor what kind of campaigning the candidates use. If the candidates slaughter sheep and give to the people, they are exploiting the poverty and the hunger in those people.
And in that case, who should be doing that?
No, the pressure of the civil society is to make the people aware. Take the bribe, but give your vote to the one whom you think is better. Don't ever be influenced by the bribe or the meat or the sugar or the...
It all comes back to the issue of awareness.
Awareness.
Yes, awareness is a very important thing. And that's why we are organizing in our organizations. I have a civil society organization. We are organizing several campaigns all over Egypt to make the people aware, to inform them, to educate them how to give your vote, how to make the future of the country, how to take part positively in shaping the future of Egypt. If you give your vote honestly and seriously and don't just sit at home or be negative or abstain from going to the elections, you are doing a very bad crime to the country.
Are you personally, optimistic the elections will pass by in a free and peaceful manner, or are you worried?
Well, in fact, I'm not sure of anything over the past few months, because many cloudy things happen in Egypt now. What I'm surprised of all the time is that why the security forces, why the police forces don't interfere to enforce security, to enforce safety for everybody. This is a question which we all cannot answer. All the time they say, wait, next week, next month, Now, even today, the Supreme Council of the Army said that they guarantee that the election will be peaceful and there will be no violence. Will they be able to? Will they be serious about this? I'm not sure. Even here, while we are sitting here, they could not even protect the peaceful interaction of a number of people in front of this building. And we had 23 dead, I think, or so. Why? So your question is, what do you expect? I'm saying I cannot be sure of anything at the moment. I hope it will be peaceful. I hope that everybody will have the right to give his vote as he wishes, and the right people enter the parliament to make better decisions for the future of Egypt.
This is the thing, Dr. Afifi. Do you think voters should be voting for the person having the same identity as theirs, or the person they believe should be the best in serving the country in this upcoming period?
Having the same identity like them.
Whether political, ideological, religious.
They should, in fact, obviously, they should select the person whom they think will serve the country best. We have two ideas here. Some candidates for the parliament concentrate and emphasize the role of providing services for their constituents. And some others think that their role is much higher than this, is to make laws and to control the government. Now, this is the right approach to a member of parliament, to control the government and also to make laws, to take part in making laws. As to services, this is not the job of the member of the parliament, but this has been done so over the past by the governments, the corrupt governments, to make the member of the parliament forget about his original role.
Obviously, this year, maybe it will remain this way. It will not be easy for Egyptians to change the way they vote, they think of a parliament member
Well said.
for the past 30 years. So it will take time.
Well thought and put by you, in fact. In fact, changing attitudes of people and ideas of people takes a long time. But making the new Egypt is worth the effort. It's worth that we be honest in seeking that and be patient in making a new Egypt as best as we can.
So, unfortunately, we have to end the interview because our time is up. We'll try to be there next Wednesday in the conference to cover the conference.
Our conference will cover a number of ideas. First, what are the specifications of a presidential candidate?
Presidential, not the parliamentary.
Yes.
Too late for the parliamentary now. So we're talking
Yes,
presidentially.
What are the specifications for the presidential candidates? And we have 7 candidates. What are the specifications of a member of parliament when he is elected? What are the duties of a member of parliament? What is the kind of relationships between the member of parliament and the citizen, the ordinary citizen? What's the relationship between the member and the government, and how he can control, what he can do, what actions he has, what authority he has, and so on. Also, we'll talk about elections everywhere, even in the university. We have elections in the university. The elections in the university over the past month were a turmoil because they are illegal, they have not changed the law, they have organized the elections. Now the court of law or the court of law has ruled that these elections are illegal and or illegitimate. Nobody knows what is going to happen. Ethics is a very important thing, and as the president of the Arab Council of Moral Education and Ethics in general, I believe that we should resort to ethics in order to make Egypt better.
The results of the conference, will it be given out in some way, or will it be spread,
we have the
distributed?
Vice Prime Minister for Political Transformation, Dr. Salmi, who will be present with us. So whatever we arrive at, we should have this put to the cabinet in order to emphasize and find the tools to implement them. That's one thing. The other thing, we will create general awareness and political pressure for this.
Political pressure.
Yes.
We hope this would work. We need
lobbying.
Yes, lobbying. We need lobbying in Egypt.
Lobbying.
We need the lobbying system. This idea of lobbying in Egypt
And
needs
lobbying
to be done.
is very ethical, by the way.
Right, Dr. Siddiq Afifi, the president of the Arab Council for Moral Education, thank you very much for joining us.
I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back, but right after this report.